Hello, my name is Alice Groves, and I am delighted to be your new principal at Victor Ornelas Elementary School. It has been such a pleasure to meet you and find out your wishes and goals for your children's education. Right now, I want to take a few minutes to provide you with a general overview of the school and the school community as it is today and has evolved over the past 3 to 5 years. I will share things that can help in the future planning. Some of this information you may already know, and some will be new. We will use this information to work together to meet our school's mission statement and our identified school goals. From conversations with parents, I realize that some of you may have difficulty in following this presentation in English. For those of you who do, the slide deck and my discussion will be posted on the school website in Spanish following this presentation. And I'm happy to answer questions. Please feel free to ask them in Spanish if you are more comfortable in that language. Gracias a las conversaciones con los padres, me doy cuenta que algunos de ustedes pueden tener dificultades para seguir esa presentación en inglés. Para aquellos de ustedes, esta presentación y mi discursión se publicarán en el sitio de web de la escuela en español. Después de esta presentación estaré encantada de responder a cualquier pregunta. No dude en preguntar en español si está más cómodo en ese idioma. I am going to start this presentation with a little background about the greater community of Garden City. This is new information for me, of course, as it might be for some of you. For those of you who already know this information about your community, I want you to think about how it may impact your children's school, Victor Ornelas Elementary. Garden City's population is half Hispanic. This has had a major impact on the community. The influx of immigrants has helped the city to flourish, bringing in large supermarkets and big box stores like Walmart. It has also enlivened the downtown area to reflect the new migrations with Mexican restaurants, Somali dried goods stores, and other Hispanic stores. This may not be a wealthy city, but it is thriving. A wonderful documentary has been made about Garden City, how multicultural, diverse, and inviting it is. This documentary talks about the importance and benefits of welcoming immigrants into our cities and towns. Please click on the picture on this slide to get a link to the video. Garden City was a railroad town in the 1920s and 30s and attracted many Mexican immigrants to work. In the 1980s, additional Mexicans, other Hispanics from Central and South America, Vietnamese, and Somalians moved into the region to work at the IBP beef plant in the 1980s. Today, Tyson Fresh Meat Incorporated is a huge employee of immigrants and migrant workers. Most immigrants arrived with little to no English, but they were willing to learn. Many immigrant families have now lived in this community for 2 to 3 generations. As you can see in this picture, the school is a multicultural reflection of Garden City community. Victor Ornelas Elementary School. The mission statement is to celebrate the diversity of our students as we meet the educational needs and prepare them to be successful in the next phases of their life. This is reflected in the mascot that was chosen. In 1987, Victor Ornelas students chose stars as the school mascot. This mascot symbolizes high goals with far-reaching effects. Victor Ornelas staff and students worked together to reach for high achievement. Royal blue and white were chosen to be the school colors. The school was named after a lifelong educator, Victor Ornelas, whose family immigrated from Mexico to work on the railroad like so many other families. Mr. Ornelas attended the University of San Francisco later in life and had various teaching positions, but ended up settling again in Garden City to teach geography and history to junior high students. He made many contributions to Garden City community. The residents embraced this man, his values, and the beliefs for which he stood and honored his memory with a lasting tribute to his life by naming the school after him in 1987. This is a Title I K-4 school with a total number of 391 students. The school has seen a population decline by 10% of the students over the past 5 years. Together, the school community established 3 goals: quality learning, responsible citizens, creating lifelong learners through rigor, and relevance and relationships. In the next few slides, I want to introduce you to the demographic of our school, and I will give you a description of the 391 students who attend. In this slide, we see the breakdown of racial ethnic characteristics. It does not reflect the overall distribution of groups in Garden City, but rather shows the concentration of Hispanics at 86% in the school community. This graph highlights the large percentage of Hispanics in the school. Although Garden City is considered to have a diverse population, Victor Ornelas does not. It is also much less diverse than the majority of schools in Kansas. The catch is that what contributes to diversity in other schools is the overwhelming predominant group in this school. Likewise, almost the entire school population is composed of a minority group. There is also a high percentage of children who are economically disadvantaged. 86% of the children are economically disadvantaged compared to only 46 overall in Kansas. A positive note is that the number of VO has decreased by 7.2 in the past 5 years. Migrant children are defined as those who have a certificate of eligibility from the federal government as migrants and have attended at least part of the school year at Victor Ornelas. Last year, the percent of migrant children for 2021 at the school was 10.43%. The average percent of migrants in the Kansas public school is only 1.5%. There has been a wide fluctuation over the past 5 years at the school due in part to the changing national policy regarding immigration. Currently, in 2021, 54.96% of the Victor Ornelas students are ELL, or English language learners, compared to the Kansas state average of 9.41%. As you can see in the graph, the number of ELL students in the school has been slowly declining by 14.52% over the last 5 years. To be able to understand the following achievement tables, it is important to understand what the different levels of achievement mean. Kansas assessment results are now reported at 4 levels. Level 1 indicates that a student shows a limited ability to understand and use the skills and knowledge needed for post-secondary readiness. Level 2 indicates that a student shows basic ability to understand and use the skills and knowledge needed for post-secondary readiness. Level 3 indicates that a student shows an effective ability to understand and use the skills and knowledge needed for post-secondary readiness. And Level 4 indicates that a student shows an excellent ability to understand and use the skills and knowledge needed for a post-secondary readiness. In looking at math, the students at the school have had fairly consistent proficient levels for the past 5 years. The most recent scores are highlighted. These levels are somewhat higher than the district but lower than the state. There is definitely room for improvement in these scores for the students as they strive for proficiency. In looking at the English language arts scores, the results are similar, but the overall numbers are lower for level 3 and 4. The scores are definitely lower than the overall average for Kansas, but again, there is definitely need to examine how proficiency can be improved. In this slide, you can see that Victor Ornelas is doing better in both math and ELA than the district, but it is still below the expected proficiency with a few students at levels 3 and 4. Here the data is subdivided. This chart looks at just the ELL student proficiency in math and English and compares it to the district and state scores. It is clear that VO is significantly ahead of the district and the overall state scores in proficiency for these English language learners. There is, of course, always room for improvement in the overall proficiency ratings. Here, the data is broken down by Hispanic and economically disadvantaged students. Again, we see our school performing considerably better than the district level and better than the overall Kansas state level. However, as I say, there's still need to work on the overall proficiency for all the students. Victor Ornelas students have done well compared to the district average and the state average on the Kansas English Proficiency Assessment. Their numbers do not vary wildly from the district and the state, even though they are 86% Hispanic, with half the students being English language learners. This illustrates how similar the school, district, and state scores are. In this breakdown by grade for Victor Ornelas, the significant numbers to look at the table are the dramatic improvement of 3rd and 4th graders in their proficiency. This is illustrated in the next graph. This graph shows how many students were consistently near proficient. These students could more easily move to the proficient percentage as they were doing in 3rd and 4th grade. Victor Ornelas, compared to state averages, did much better, especially in the 3rd and 4th grade. Almost all of the students at our school were nearly proficient throughout, 96 to 100, and in 3rd grade, 14.6% were proficient compared to the state average of 12.34%. And in 4th grade, 28% were proficient compared to 15.73% for the state. Our school has a lower student-teacher ratio, spends less than the average Kansan school per pupil, has concern about how the large Hispanic non-English speaking students take away needed resources for the other populations, and are in a very politically conservative community. We have a supportive school climate where all participants want to work towards excellence. We have a successful ELL program, see promise in the CELPA testing for proficiency. We see challenges of increasing student learning and proficiency testing. But with a strong community, I feel confident that we can tackle this challenge. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to any questions you might have.